Our movie kicks off in a place called Mercury Island, specifically to a store named Times. They're looking for a cashier with experience. A guy named Mitch applies for the job and goes in for the interview. During the interview, we learn Mitch has never met his father. He's lived his whole life with his mom and her husband. His stepdad makes good money, but his work is connected to running brothels. As with every interview Mitch ever has, he gets rejected the moment they hear the details of his life. He goes home dejected, flipping through TV channels. He watches his mom and stepdad constantly fighting, but tunes it out. He doesn't even pay much attention to his little sister, who's always trying to get him to play. That night, he calls his friend Jimmy and asks him to come over. When Jimmy arrives, he suggests they go to Mexico for a trip. Maybe they can find work there too. He says they can drink and have sex with no one back home ever finding out. Jimmy suggests they take Mitch's dad's car because Mitch's own car is a piece of junk that'll break down halfway. Mitch agrees. They take the car, drive to the border crossing, and get through with shocking ease. Jimmy is surprised there's not even a search. Mitch points out nobody's trying to smuggle anything into Mexico from the US. They find the nearest bar in Mexico, start drinking, and Jimmy asks for sex. The price is set at $50. Jimmy picks a girl named Rose and goes into a back room with her. But a short while later, a strange man appears with the same girl, who's now beaten up. The man confronts Mitch, telling him he now owes $200 because his friend assaulted Rose, then jumped out the window, caught a taxi, and fled. The man threatens to go to the police. Mitch, knowing it's a setup, refuses to pay, saying he has nothing to do with his friend's actions. The man then accuses Mitch of being the one who assaulted her. He says here in Mexico, they can easily frame him, that his cousin is the officer at the station and his uncle is the chief. Throwing him in jail would be simple. He demands the $200 again. Mitch snaps, grabs a bottle, and smashes it over the man's head. The man's friends jump in and beat Mitch senseless. A guy named Jason watches the whole thing from the sidelines. When they realize Mitch has no money, they throw him out of the bar. Jason approaches him, buys him breakfast, and apologizes for not being able to help him inside. He tells Mitch he might have a job for him, something that could make him a lot of money. He says Mitch clearly isn't working and is broke. He tells Mitch to wait right there, he'll be back. Sure enough, Jason returns a while later in a car with a stranger named Barry, who Jason introduces as the leader of their group. Barry starts pitching Mitch the job. He says nobody comes from the US to Mexico looking for work. Most Americans who come down here are running from miserable lives, just looking to blow off steam. He offers Mitch a spot on his team, promising him $5,000 a week. He hints that their real work is more than just driving trucks. It's bigger than a four-star general. With his life in America being so hard, Mitch decides to accept. Barry takes him out to a remote desert camp that looks like a military compound. Mitch discovers rows of bunk beds in a barracks. Exhausted, he crashes. He's woken up early the next morning by a man named Camario, who acts as their foreman. Camario shows him around, laying down the rules. No one goes into the main house. He hands Mitch a wooden stick, telling him it's his weapon until he earns a real one. They're taken out into the desert to dig. Camario barks orders on when to work, when to rest, and how deep the trench needs to be. Mitch meets a younger kid named Jack, who explains he's Barry's nephew, but his uncle treats him terribly and won't let him see his mother. When Mitch asks what the trench is for, Jack says it's for protection. Mitch asks how long this job lasts. Jack just says, forever. While they're working, Jack tries to move a branch and gets stung by a scorpion. They rush to clean the wound, but Camario shows up and orders everyone, including Jack, back to work immediately. Mitch protests, saying a kid can't work after a scorpion sting and that the job shouldn't depend on one person. Camario coldly tells him to follow orders and commands Jack to get back to work. When Mitch refuses, Camario calls over a guy named Paul and tells him to discipline the new soldier. Paul beats Mitch badly. As punishment, they lock him in a wooden crate out in a field, sliding food and water through a small slit. The next morning, Mitch starts digging from the inside of the crate, widening the hole beneath it until he can tip the crate over and escape. He walks straight back to camp and starts eating. Minutes later, Camario arrives with Barry. He shouts for everyone to stand at attention. Everyone obeys except Mitch, who's busy eating. Barry just smiles and tells them all to sit and eat. After the meal, Mitch goes to rest and observes that even in their free time, the men are doing chores for the camp. It feels like a prison. That night, Mitch breaks the rule and goes to the main house. He walks into Barry's office office and demands his money, saying he's quitting and going home. Barry puts about $1,000 on the desk. Mitch says that wasn't their deal. Barry tells him he's lucky to be alive and reveals this isn't the real work. He claims their organization actually fights cartels and protects the border. If Mitch starts the real work, his pay will be even more than $5,000 a week. The truth is, it's a private militia, a death squad working for Barry's profit. He brainwashes and exploits these lost young men. Mitch is suspicious and refuses, saying the work isn't legit. Barry starts manipulating him, saying going back to America will just throw him back into the same pointless, drifting life he had before. He plays on Mitch's lack of connections. Even his friend Jimmy abandoned him. Mitch thinks about his empty life, his lack of belonging anywhere. The idea of being part of a team, of having power and control, starts to seduce him. Having already tried and failed at being miserable in America, he decides to try his luck in Mexico. He reluctantly agrees. The next day, Barry gathers them, shows off a new pistol, and asks who's ready for it. Paul quickly grabs it. Barry says they have a new mission. He explains that police found a girl's body on a road 2 days ago in a nearby town. Rumors say a young guy raped and killed her, though the police report says it was a drug overdose. This same guy is allegedly a drug dealer. Their mission is to kidnap him and steal his drugs. The next day, they tail him in a taxi. Paul and Mitch get out. Jack approaches the target, asking if he needs a ride, saying his taxi will be faster. The target gets suspicious and pulls out his phone to call someone. Jack quickly throws his own bag into their taxi. When the target reaches in to grab it, Paul and Mitch shove him inside. They take him to a remote spot, beat him, and search his bag for drugs but find nothing. Paul puts his gun down to search the bag. The kid, Brad, grabs for it to defend himself. Paul wrestles it back, and a shot goes off, hitting Brad. Panicked, they decide to leave him. Jack, before running, tears the kid's shirt off and takes it with them. Back at camp, they're all shaken up about killing him. Jack finds a letter in the shirt pocket and asks Mitch if he can read it to him. Jack thought it would be from his drug crew, but Mitch reads it aloud. It's from Brad's mother. She writes that their family troubles are resolved, that they miss him, and they're waiting for him to come home. Mitch is gutted with remorse and decides he has to fix the terrible mistake they've made. That night, Mitch tries to sneak over to steal Paul's gun while he sleeps. As he gets it, he finds Jack staring right at him. Jack says he couldn't sleep, and it seems like he just messed up whatever Mitch was planning. Mitch is forced to just go to bed. The next day, Barry brings in a new shipment of guns for everyone to choose from. He tells them there's a cartel crew in a nearby city, and they're going to plan a hit. He says they have the advantage of being outsiders, untraceable. That night, Barry takes them all to a bar. He's with a date, Susan. When Barry leaves her to talk to another cartel leader, Susan starts dancing with strangers. Camario orders the guys to go get her. At the end of the night, in the car, Susan tries to come on to Mitch, but he pushes her away. The next day, Barry starts training them for the raid. Afterwards, Barry gives them their new mission. They will pose as U.S. Border Patrol, pull over a cartel vehicle, and steal the drugs. They stake out the house. 2 vehicles leave in different directions. Barry orders Mitch to follow one, Camario the other. When they get to a deserted spot, Jack switches on police lights they've installed. They're all wearing FBI t-shirts. They order the vehicle to pull over. The driver gets out. Mitch approaches, telling him to put his hands behind his head. Jason goes to the other side to pull out a passenger. They try to handcuff them with chains, but the cartel guys get suspicious and ask for their badges. Suddenly, one spins around and shoots Jason. Mitch opens fire. The cartel guys jump back in their SUV and try to ram them. Mitch manages to shoot the driver, then finishes off the rest. They grab the boxes of drugs and flee. Killing is no longer a big deal to them. Even Jack, who was torn up about Brad, now casually steals cocaine from Barry's house later that night. Mitch, taking out the trash, runs into Susan outside the main house. They talk, he goes to her place that night, and they sleep together. That night, Barry discovers his cocaine is missing. He also sees a news report about police busting a crew and seizing drugs and money. This gives him a brilliant, twisted idea to rob the Mexican federal police. Camario is sent to tip off the police that a major drug movement is happening at 6 a.m. the next day in Juarez. Barry tells Mitch that Juarez is a city in a constant state of war between cartels. He pulls Mitch aside, calling him the most capable in the group. They need that police money, and their timing has to be perfect. As a reward, Barry gives Mitch a new, nicer room. In the morning, they head to Juarez. Camario's job is to monitor the police scanner and describe the money truck to Mitch. At first, the chaotic streets of Juarez make it hard to find. Then Paul spots it on a parallel street. Mitch immediately goes for it, turning on the police lights. The driver flashes his police badge. In that moment, Jack throws a grenade. It explodes next to the truck, not on it. Cops pour out, guns blazing. Paul is shot and killed. Mitch rams their SUV, flipping it. He jumps out with his pistol, finds no one moving, grabs the bag of money, and escapes. When they return to camp, Mitch is shocked to find it being raided by federales. A fierce firefight breaks out. Mitch sprints for a car. Camario jumps in and provides cover fire. Barry emerges from a hideout with the money bag, sprays bullets, jumps in their car, and they speed away from the farm, abandoning the rest of their team. They lead the police chase right into the giant trench they'd been digging, Barry's planned escape route all along. Mitch yells at Barry that they just robbed the federal police and they'll never stop hunting them. Barry doesn't care. The money is all that matters, and he thinks he can outrun them. Camario gets a newspaper. The headline reads that police raided a desert militia camp, identified its leader as the one who robbed the police, and linked them to other violent acts. The article lists the captured, Robin Gustavo and Susan Booker, now in jail. The dead from the militia, Jason from Georgia, found dead near a rival cartel, and Jack Banner, killed in the raid, noted to be the nephew of leader Barry. Barry asks about Benito. There's no news about him. He decides to go look for him. They find Benito and bring him into the desert. Barry makes him get out of the car. He's decided Benito is a liability and is going to execute him. Camario tells Mitch that sometimes they have to do things they don't want to. Seeing this, Mitch decides to act. He strangles Camario from behind, hoping to get his gun and save Benito, but he's too late. Barry has already shot Benito. Mitch grabs the money bag and runs. Barry chases him, but Mitch manages to lose him in the landscape. Mitch waits by some train tracks, ready to ambush Barry, but he never shows. Mitch goes back to bury Benito, then continues his trek alone through the desert with the money bag. He tears his pants to make a head covering against the sun. Days pass. He's lost, dehydrated, nearing death. He starts hallucinating, collapsing, and constantly looking over his shoulder, paranoid someone's coming. He finally staggers to a wind turbine with a water barrel underneath. He drinks desperately and even covers himself with the cash for some absurd comfort. A gunshot rings out, piercing the barrel. Mitch scrambles for cover. We see Barry approaching on horseback with a rifle. That's how he covered so much ground. Barry closes in, calling out to Mitch, saying they could have negotiated instead of Mitch stealing and running. He berates him, saying he offered him a leadership role, a purpose, but Mitch wasn't worthy and chose his useless old life instead. He gets closer. Mitch is crawling, wounded in the leg from the shot. He hides by a water trough. Barry spots a $100 bill floating in the water and knows he's there. But Mitch sees Barry's reflection in the water's surface. He lunges, shooting Barry in the side. His gun clicks empty. He has to run. Barry staggers after him. Barry shouts, asking why Mitch hates him so much. He screams that hate isn't a bad thing. Goliath hated David, and David became the greatest king. The Israelites in their tents hated the Philistines who owned the land, and that hate let them conquer it. He starts beating Mitch with the rifle stock. He's about to deliver the final blow when Mitch remembers the small, single-shot pistol he took from Jack. With his last ounce of strength, he pulls it and fires, killing Barry. He remembers Jack's words. This gun is small, just one bullet, but it might save your life one day. Mitch slowly gets up, walks to the horse, takes it, and rides away. It's as if Barry's entire chase was just to deliver Mitch the means to escape the desert. He finds the nearest clothing store, goes to the bathroom to cut the bullet out of his leg, walks out naked, and puts on the first clothes that fit. He takes the first bus back to Texas, but he doesn't go home. He goes to the address written on the letter from Brad, the kid they killed. He walks into their garage and leaves the bag of money there. Brad's mother sees him and asks who he is. He tells her he was a friend of Brad's in Mexico. They take him in. He tells them Brad is dead and that the money in their garage is for them. The film ends by posing a tough question. Was Mitch a victim of the circumstances closing in around him, or was he a willing accomplice to the crimes? Or was he both? And with that, this movie comes to an end. If you enjoyed the recap, support the channel with a like, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe for the next movie.